Welcome to another video, guys. After I drove my buddy Matt's amazing old original Toyota AE86 for a video not too long ago, I realized that I really just enjoy driving these older, lightweight, lower powered sports cars, especially from my favorite Japanese brands, Honda, Toyota, and the like. So here we are with Mike. You guys might remember him as owning an E39 BMW 540i that I reviewed, but he happens to also have this original Toyota MR2 AW11 generation. So tell me a little bit about this car. First of all, what model year is this?
It's a 1986 NA, really high miles on the chassis, but replaced motor and transmission. So it's got the transmission from the MK1B, so no fifth gear pop out.
Yes, being an NA model, you know, this is sub 2,400 pounds, probably 2,300 and change. And we've got the legendary 4AGE motor, little 1.6 liter, naturally aspirated inline four. The same motor found in the original AE86, rated at what, 112, 116 horsepower, somewhere around there. Yep. And probably right around 100 foot-pounds of torque, but it does rev out to a happy almost 7,500 RPM. So what does MR2 stand for? Depending on who you ask, it's either midship runabout two-seater or midship rear-wheel drive two-seater. I mean, who cares? It fits all of those.
Yeah. Let's
see how it does on this pretty tight canyon road here. Let's see what 112 horsepower feels like. Wow. Hopping out of an S2000 and a BRZ into something like this is, I have to rewire my brain in terms of how to drive.
Yeah.
A super slow manual steering rack with a massive wheel. I mean, I think this has got to be like a 400 millimeter wheel or something.
Yeah, it's funny. I bought it with a sport steering wheel. And I took it back to the original as a reverse mod. So.
Oh, okay. You wanted that original look.
Yeah.
It's comical how much steering input I have to give it to get through these corners here. There's no thumb cutouts for you know, your 3 and 9. You gotta basically just grip onto this very thin, kind of slick steering wheel rim, or do this, which is just this wheel's completely wrong.
Yeah. Originally they were leather wrapped. This one doesn't have the leather wrapping on it, but
I see.
So it's thinner.
It's thinner. It's gutless below 4,000.
Yeah.
You really gotta rev it out to get any kind of power. And this is a car that honestly I enjoy driving it just at a leisurely pace. It's not something I want to push to the very limit.
Yes.
Especially with it being higher mileage and the fact that it's, you know, the safety standards back in 1986 were not what they are now. It's not a car you want to find yourself in any sort of trouble in, but it gives you that like just really retro 80s feel to everything. I mean, just look at this gauge cluster here. It's very, just so 80s.
It's very airy as well.
Yeah, I mean that's a big difference. Yeah, from cars nowadays. Is even though this car is minuscule by modern standards and very, very lightweight and small, inside I feel like I have so much room. Like I can't even, unless I lean forward, I can't even reach this dash here. Very reminiscent actually of the way my NSX is designed. Say what you will about these engines being underpowered, they make a really good sound. This thing is so fun. You chuck it in a corner and it just sticks.
Because of its stock suspension or maybe tired suspension, you got enough body roll.
You feel the roll for sure. In a car like this, I actually prefer to feel body roll because you don't want to get caught off guard by anything. And if you have a very stiffly sprung car that doesn't really move around much in the corners, it might give you a false sense of confidence to attack harder and harder until suddenly it breaks away. This car, there's almost no chance of that happening on a canyon road, at least, because you're just feeling what the car's doing. It's not about, you know, driving at the absolute limit. I know they made a supercharged version of this car. I've never driven just a normal supercharged version. I reviewed a twin-charged AW11 a long time ago. Yeah. This is when I had very little experience in any car, much less a 300 horsepower MR2. I'd be curious to see what just a stock supercharged MR2 feels like with that extra 30 horsepower or so. It might just be the perfect amount of power for this car. You know what I'd be very curious to see is if anyone has swapped in a 20 valve 4AGE motor. Revs to like 8,200 RPM, you know, rated at around 160 horsepower. I wonder if anyone's done that with an MR2. You know, despite not having power steering, this car's so light, you honestly don't need it. This is an option, right? Or did all MR2s come with this?
Not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you could have it slick top.
With modern moonroofs or sunroofs, they're usually like so small and so far away from your head, they don't really do a whole lot. Like sometimes you don't even notice that it's there.
Yeah.
But in this car, it's literally inches from the top of my head, and it spans almost the entire roof of the car, essentially.
Yeah.
So it does give you quite like an open top experience.
Yeah.
Just without the wind.
It's tilt, manual tilt, and then it's completely retractable.
Oh, retractable as
so
well.
You can take it out and like put it in the.
Oh, in the front.
Yeah.
That is cool. Kidding about the high levels of road noise inside the car.
Yeah.
Well, look at this thing. You just rip it around this road, no problem. Oh, yep. You gotta keep it in second gear though. The brakes feel good, surprisingly. I've lately become, I guess you could say, spoiled by newer cars. Every time I drive an old car like this, I'm reminded why I lusted after cars like this growing up. Because it's so different in terms of what you're trying to achieve through the act of driving. You know, with a modern car, a lot of times it's just to get from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time, using the least amount of fuel, in the most high level of comfort that you can get, right?
Yeah.
And in modern performance cars, you still get a lot of that because they're so well insulated, they're so comfortable and usable. But at the same time, you can go really fast if you wanted to. But roads haven't changed much in the past 30 years. There's only so fast you can go on a road before you're risking your own life as well as the lives of everyone around you, right? That's where a car like this comes into play, because you can be driving at closer to the limit of the car itself without putting yourself or anyone else in a great amount of risk, because the limits are so low. Chuck it into a corner, feel the limit of tire grip, and just like that, I mean, that is not fast, but it's so much fun. Fast doesn't always equate to fun.
That's true.
But I am curious, if you did a few basic mods to one of these early MR2s, what it would feel like. And by basic mods, I mean a proper set of dampers, lighter weight wheels with grippier tires, intake exhaust, a header, you know, maybe some brake upgrades, and just feel what the car can do with just a little bit of massaging. But even stock, it's hard to argue with this. Just being such a fun driving experience. Oh man, I love this thing. I love it. I wouldn't say it's underpowered for what it is and what it represents, but even then, I can't help but wonder, with 150 horsepower, what this would feel like. Still just an absolute pleasure to drive an original MR2, pretty much unmolested. You don't see these examples a whole lot anymore these days. So yeah, thank you, Mike, for letting me experience this thing
Thank you.
You have excellent taste in cars.
Thanks.
Can't wait to see what you do next. You mentioned you're potentially going to get the new Nissan Z, so hit me up. That might be something I'd want to show or showcase on the channel.
For sure.
It's a car I've been very curious about ever since it was first announced, obviously. Let me know what you guys think of the original AW11 Toyota MR2. Is it just an old clunker, or is it something that should be kept in tip-top condition and driven every day, or at least on like a nice canyon road on a Saturday morning? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.